Well, here's Brother Peter again with tidbits from the Word. We are on the first day of the year of 2013. There are some things that God revealed to us about His Son, Jesus Christ, that He revealed that we should know, and that was the spiritual side of the man. The physical side of the man or boy, Jesus, was not important. Had it been important, God would have revealed it to us. But He didn't reveal the physical side of Jesus as a boy, other than the time He was in the temple at 12 years old. We're going to take a look at that right now in the book of Luke, chapter 2, and verse 40. Let's take a look and see what it says. It said, "And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit." Now, didn't say anything about his physical being. He said he waxed strong in the spirit. This is the important part of man. The physical side of man is not so important as the spiritual side of man. Now, John the Baptist, God didn't reveal anything to us about John the Baptist other than for 30 years he had been in the wilderness. And he had come out of the wilderness eating wild honey and locusts. He was dressed in camel's hair, and he was a rough man. And by the way, he was only going to live, Jesus was going to live 33 years, and John the Baptist was only going to live 30 years and a few months. Because when he came out of the wilderness baptizing, right after he baptized Jesus, his head was put on a platter. And so the life of John the Baptist physically was not important, that God told us about that. It was the spiritual act that he was going to do in baptizing Jesus Christ and baptizing those to hold them until they got baptized by the Spirit of God. The first baptizing of people. Now, he grew in body. Verse 40, let's see. "And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him." Now, the grace of God was upon him that gave him the ability to do what he was going to do. Now, this wisdom that he had was very strong in his mind. It was very strong in his mind. Let's look at verse 40 again. "And the child, he grew, and he waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom." Now, we find the spirit strong in him. We find the wisdom strong in his mind in him. And we find another thing in verse 40. We find God's grace upon him. Now, you and I, believe it or not, have the same power in a sense that Jesus had. We may not exempt as much faith as he did, or that Peter did. That Peter said to the man at the gate, "Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee, take up thy bed and walk." He had the faith of healing. And the man took up his bed and walked and leaped and ran. And so we as human beings would have that if we knew how to exert that faith today. I think that God would not have us doing that today, because people would follow the work and not the Lord. They would not follow God. They would want to follow the works. They would want to follow the works that man did rather than follow God. Now, here's a boy, a young man, 12 years old. He's in his body. He's of sound and strong mind, and he's filled with wisdom, and he's filled with grace. Now what is he doing? Verse 47. "And all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and his answers." He was God in the flesh, and he just didn't have the understanding. He was the Word. Remember, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. 1 John 1:1. That Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. Can you receive that? Not humanly speaking, you and I cannot receive that. Humanly speaking, we cannot receive that statement. Spiritually speaking, we can receive it. He was the Word. By the way, do you know that He was the rock that the water flowed from, and the children of Israel and Jerusalem? He said, I was that rock that water flowed from. Why do you think Moses was told he couldn't go into the Holy Land because he struck the rock? It wasn't time for Jesus to be struck. Jesus was not supposed to be struck. He said, speak to the rock. God said to Moses, speak to that rock. Moses struck it. He wasn't supposed to, because he was striking now, and unknowingly he was striking that rock, Jesus. And the first striking that he got. And so Moses had lost his right to go into the promised land. Verse 47 said, and all that heard him were astonished at his sayings. They were astonished because they just couldn't fathom this 12-year-old boy being able to, it was unheard of to have somebody with the knowledge that he had. But it was only normal for Jesus. He was the Word. So it was normal for him because he was the Word. And in him was the divine insight and the truth at 12 years old. Isaiah 50 and verse 4 tells us that he was going to do this very thing. He was going to astonish the people in Isaiah chapter 50 and verse 4. And so we see the Old Testament culminating into the New Testament, and we see coming true all of the prophecies that were told of Jesus. Hundreds and hundreds of prophecies that were told of Jesus comes true with this man. There again, I'm baffled. I am totally baffled. And Jesus said he blinded the eyes of the Jews. That's why they're blinded. Why they could not see this was the true Son of God, and why they rebelled against that. Psalm 119:97 tells us some things. Go to those scriptures and look at them. But let's continue on where we are right now. Let's look at verse 49. Here's a boy at the age of 12 knew his mission. At the age of 12, he knew his mission. I teach 12-year-old, 13-year-old boys in my class at Sunday school, and I teach them they need not wait until they're 20 or 30 or any longer than to become missionaries at their age. At 12 years old, you can be a missionary. Jesus was a missionary at 12 years old. And verse 49, he said, verse 48, oh, and when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou dealt with us so? Behold, thy father and I have sought thee, sorrowing. And he said unto them, How is it that ye sought me? Wished ye not that I might be about my Father's business? Wow. Do you not know that Mary then remembered at that instant that this was the Son of God? That this son she had was not Joseph's son, but God's son? And that he must be about. But look at this. They understood not the saying which he spake unto his mother or unto them. This young man spake unto his mother at 12 and said this to her. And the people and the priests and the high mucky-mucks in the temple did not understand what Jesus was saying to his mother. They didn't understand that he was the Son of God. See, he knew his mission all the way through. He knew what his mission was going to be. He knew what he was sent here to do. He knew he was sent here for this. And he knew his mission, and he knew that he had the gift of teaching. And verse 40 said he was teaching. in the temple. Verse 47, excuse me, he was teaching. And verse 49 says he knew his mission. And verse 51 says he was a mortal boy. He was the model of all boys of boys. It said, and he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject unto them. But his mother kept all these sayings in her heart. He was subject to his earthly mother and father. He would be the model boy. He would be the perfect boy to his parents. And then let's see what happened else here in verse 52. It said, he increased in wisdom. And verse 52, it said, and Jesus increased in wisdom and stature. That means he was growing taller. He was growing with the wisdom in his heart, and he increased in that, and he was growing taller. And listen to this, and in favor with God and man. Now, this is very, very, very important for you and I, that we have favor with God and man. Hey, to have favor with God is one thing, but we need to have favor with man too. We need to act like Christians. We need to have the favor of man in our adulthood. And it's important. I had boys, my boys had reputations that people would say to me, you know, your boys are the politest boys, or they are the most respectful boys that I ever met. And I taught my boys to respect people. And when they were young boys, and they weren't wild, they took the hat off when they came in the house. They wouldn't, they did the way that they were taught. See, and they grew in favor too. And in verse 52, this Psalm 119, for the sake of being able to get to it quickly, is another matter. But this Psalm 119 is I need to get to it and look at it. And here we go, right here. And we got Psalm 119 and 97. I need to read that to you this morning. Psalm 119 and verse 97 today. I say this morning, I mean today. It may be morning, it may not be morning. It may be afternoon, but whatever it is, today. In verse 97 of Psalm 119. One of the longest psalms that was ever written is about Jesus too. In verse 97, oh how love I thy law, is my meditation all the day. Listen, you and I have got a commission. Our commission is to meditate in the Word of God, and to get out and be a witness to others, and be an upholder and love others. This is the first day of the year. I have a commission today to get out and visit some people in nursing homes today, and visit some people out there today that need a sprucing up, perking up for the year, to go visit them. Give a few minutes of time to them. And verse 104 of Psalm, listen to this. It said, through thy precepts I get understanding, therefore I hate every false way. Wow. Do you know that's me? Through I get in the Word of God, and through His precepts I'm learning how to deny my flesh and follow the Lord. Yesterday was the last day of 2012. We exerted enough energy yesterday, and we did a day's work yesterday big enough, so I'll guarantee you the day's work physically we did yesterday was more work than some people did the whole year, and some people in their whole life. We worked 12 solid, good, solid, hard hours yesterday, moving several cubic feet of wood from one place to another, and unstacking it, loading it, hauling it, and stacking it back. And physically, a day's work. I mean, a day's work. And then God allowed us to be happy all the time we were doing it. And God allowed us to be happy when we got it done. And after we got it done, we had several other chores to do. It's like bringing the cows in. When you go out to the pasture and get the cows in, that's just the beginning. Then you got to feed them, hay them, clean up behind them, and milk them. And get the milk out. And then after you get the milk out, it's not just getting it out. You got to prepare it. You got to get it into the cooler. And you got to make sure it's right and everything. And then you got to bed the cows down. And then you got to look at, the fact is, you're going to get in bed, and in 6 hours, you're going to be back out there doing the same exact thing all over again. I worked on a farm when I was a kid. I know what it's like to tend cows and to milk them and to take care of them and to put them in the stanchions and to clean up behind them and to do all of that. Listen, this is a working life, a working life. Jesus planned and did his work, and he did his life out through his 30-something years, and you and I are to do ours. Our time's come and gone. I got to go. See you next time. Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word.